Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video we have my Game Week 14 team selection, where I've already used my 2 free transfers to set up my team for the Game Week 14 deadline, and I'll share that with you guys as we go along in today's video. So if you do enjoy this one, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well, and let's get on with the video. And as usual, we'll start with a review of the last game week, which was game week 13. Now, the old rank was 215k, and I managed to squeeze a small green arrow up to 197k in the world. Considering that I did not have Bukayo Saka in my team, I was thankful enough to run away with a green arrow. I'm happy enough with that, and I managed to cover off the Bukayo Saka points with other players in my team that did pretty well and are quite low owned still. Right, so 77 points for game week 13. In terms of who scored those points, Verbruggen did not keep a clean sheet against Brighton. That was not a great start to game week 13, but thereafter in defense you see Aina with 8 points and Chris Wood with 9 points. On Saturday was a much better performance for my team because Nottingham Forest won Ipswich 1-0. And that was essentially the best scoreline that could happen for that game. And Chris Wood was the one who came away with that one goal. So Wood with a 9-pointer, Aina with an 8-pointer really helped me to kind of deal with the fact that in my midfield, I did not have Bukayo Saka who scored 18 points. So it was really this Wood and Aina combination, which is still not very highly owned because people have started to move off of Nottingham Forest players. I still held on to them in beliefs that in game week 13 against Ipswich, they would come good. So I'm thankful that now they have given the points, but I do think like moving forward, they will still be players I need to address because the fixtures moving forward are quite tricky. Maybe Chris Wood is a player I can take a bit of time and think about whether I want to keep him depending on how Nottingham Forest fare in these next few kind of tougher fixtures. If they do continue to pick up form and still look pretty good, I don't mind keeping someone like Chris Wood, but Aina definitely is someone that has to go soon because defensively the fixtures are quite tricky. So I'll speak about kind of my future plans for Aina later on. In terms of defense, it was double Arsenal defense that did not keep a clean sheet, but Gabriel with a goal and an assist coming away with 9 points. In midfield, Mbeumo and Rogers disappointed, but Salah and Palmer both scoring really highly. 1 goal and 1 assist for both of them. And Salah coming away with 13 points and Palmer with 14, with a captain's armband that was 28. It did feel as if before the Man City game, that Palmer captainers were going to get away with maybe a bit of an edge against Salah, but the man is so good and so informed that even in a game where maybe he does not do as well, he comes away with a penalty from a Luis Diaz kind of foul in the box and thereafter scores as well. So he's quite inevitable. There's so many different ways that Salah gets points, and to be fair, he also had an open play chance, I think right at the start of the second half, where he could have put the ball at the back of the net as well, but he skied a bit of a sitter as well. It was a one-on-one. So on another day, maybe Salah could have scored more as well, right? So Salah and Palmer, whether or not we went for either one of them, there wasn't much difference in terms of Game Week 13 captaincy. But I think moving forward, it feels to me like Palmer will be the captain that we use more. But let's see. We'll speak about captaincy in a bit later on. And then up front, it's Cunha with 2 points. He blanked. Obviously, Strand Larsen owners who held faith in him, he came away with a double-digit haul with 2 goals there. So for those of you who held faith, kudos to you guys. For Isak, he went off with a bit of a hip injury. It was an impact injury, and he didn't even make it past the first half. So he came on with only a 1-pointer. And then Chris Wood, as you mentioned, coming away with a goal via a penalty against Ipswich. So there we go with my Game Week 13 team. In terms of the kind of areas that I need to address in my team, I feel like with my Game Week 14 transfers that I will mention in a bit, it immediately deals with the most pertinent issues that I have, and then also opens up opportunities later down the line for other kind of more exciting moves, like maybe Manchester United players, if I do wish to go for them. So I do have a couple of transfer plans or windows of opportunities that I will allow myself to kind of explore some other differential options, which is generally what I like to do, to have at least 1 or 2 differential players that is differing from the template, players that have the potential to pop off so that I can rise the ranks and just get into the top 100k, which is still the aim at this point, right? But if not, for Game Week 13, this is how I did. Let's have a look now at my Game Week 14 team with transfers made already. So for game week 14, this is how my defense is looking like. I have not used any of my free transfers to deal with this third defender spot that continues to be an issue for me. For now, this third defender spot goes to Rico Lewis playing Nottingham Forest at home. And it's simply because I think this fixture is decent enough for him that I don't mind just riding out this game week 14 fixture with him. And if somehow as well Manchester City turn a corner, because their fixtures moving forward are actually pretty decent. After this Nottingham Forest game, they have Crystal Palace. I don't mind giving Rico Lewis a couple more game weeks in my team to see if I could be at the start of maybe the Man City turn of form. And in fact, when you look at my bench, I think Aina is a player or a defender that I would deal with first. So Rico Lewis would definitely get at least the next 2 game weeks. And for what it's worth, he is getting the starts. He is also in the first choice starting 11 for Manchester City. So I do think like he feels pretty safe. It's really a question of whether Man City are going to turn their form around and whether they're going to keep clean sheets moving forward. If not, I kind of like the positions that Rico Lewis is picking up. Even in the Liverpool game, he did have a couple of phases of play where he was quite far up front, right? So Rico Lewis is here. In terms of the other 3 players, is Verbruggen and my double Arsenal defense. Now, Gabriel is yellow flagged here, but I'm not too concerned. We felt at first that it was a concussion substitution, that there was a reason why they took him off at halftime against West Ham. But after Arteta has recently come out to say that that substitution was not really due to the concussion, but more due to the knock or the injury that he was nursing after the Champions League game midweek. So because of that, I do think, and we will remember as well that that same injury, he was able to, shrug it off and continue playing against West Ham in game week 13. So I don't think it's going to be super serious. And I do think we will see him feature against Manchester United at home. So I think I'm fine to just start Gabriel here, despite my kind of bench cover for defenders not being as strong. And then Saliba is my other Arsenal defender. And Verbruggen here is a kind of a set and forget keeper for me, at least for the next few game weeks. I don't see a reason why I will be kind of starting Flecken instead of him, especially now that Flecken will start to go on a slightly trickier fixture run. So Verbruggen against Fulham, Gabriel and Saliba against Manchester United at home, and then Rico Lewis playing Nottingham Forest at home. This will be my starting defense. Let's have a look now at my midfielders. So in midfield, you will see the first transfer that I've used out of my 2 free transfers is to bring Bukayo Saka in for Bryan Mbeumo. So I'll speak about Bukayo Saka first. This was always a move that I penciled in for around game week 14 or game week 15. I had some thoughts earlier on about whether I could delay this move and do it in game week 15 instead, because now in game week 14, Bukayo Saka will be playing Manchester United at home. But the thing is, with how poorly Mbeumo is playing right now, and the converse being true for Bukayo Saka, that he's looking really good and performing at a very high level right now, it feels a little bit easier to just make this move right now, when earlier on I did feel as if maybe I could delay it to game week 15. So for what it is worth, I've brought Bukayo Saka in already in Manchester United at home. I don't think now is a super easy time to play Manchester United because they are on somewhat of a new manager bounce. But I still back the fact that Arsenal are looking really good, especially in attack right now. You look at the way Odegaard is gelling everything together, as well as how Odegaard and Saka are linking up. It just feels like the Arsenal of old that we were looking at. So Manchester United at home, maybe not the easiest fixture in Game Week 14, but moving forward, Saka is a player I will have in my team for a really, really long time. So Saka comes into the team. Aside from that, it was all the midfielders that I pretty much stuck with for quite a long period of time in my team. Salah, Rodgers, Semenyo, and Palmer. I don't need to speak too much about Salah and Palmer, as well as captaincy later on. I will discuss that in the captaincy algorithm section. But in terms of kind of both of these players, they just feel so inevitable, along with Saka as well. Like these 3 premiums, Saka, Salah, as well as Palmer, feel right now like a bit of a template midfield pick, and then it's about who you go in midfield other than these 3, right? So I guess a bit of a template is forming right now, which may not be ideal because it makes it a little bit trickier to kind of go different when these kind of popular players are just delivering week in, week out. So maybe in terms of buying Saka, I'm tending towards a template, but I do have plans, as I mentioned just now at the earlier part of this video, to go different in other areas. And it's this Rodgers as well as Semenyo spot that I think maybe some tweaks could be made later down the line. But for now, Rodgers has Brentford at home, and he does have a decent enough set of fixtures for the next 3 game weeks, so I don't mind holding on to him, and he comes in the starting 11 now in game week 14. Semenyo as well comes back from his suspension, and he's a player that I'm very happy to have. From game week 14 onwards, the fixtures start to get pretty good. Tottenham at home, at the Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth are always a force to be reckoned with, and looking at how Spurs are pretty inconsistent recently, they just drew with Fulham 1-1 over the last weekend. I do think like Bournemouth, with the way that they're playing, coming off a good win against Wolves as well, are a team that will do quite well against Tottenham, who will leave space at the back. So I'm backing Semenyo after he's gotten 1 week of a rest. That I do think he will be a player that is going to be my starting 11 for at least the next few game weeks. Now, the reason why I mentioned Manchester United quite a bit is because I think we are on the start of maybe a new manager bounce for Manchester United, and unfortunately the next 3 fixtures will be quite tricky for Manchester United. They will have Arsenal away, and then they will have Nottingham Forest, followed by Manchester City away. So arguably those are their 3 toughest fixtures, but in the run after that, from kind of game week, what's 3 game weeks after game week 14? 14, 15, 16. From game week 17 onwards, they are a team that I think we can start to target. So I need to kind of think about how I'm going to get Manchester United players in, because players like Ahmad, players like Marcus Rashford, they are all in kind of a price range that is reachable for this, I guess you could call it a 4th or a 5th midfielder spot. So I do think like I want to work my team around getting these players in. So for now, I'm happy enough to just sit with Rodgers and Semenyo. But once Manchester United fixtures turn, I do think like I want to give myself the opportunity to go there and consider their players. So for now, it's Rodgers and Semenyo, but later on, you are aware of my plans for Manchester United players. I will continue to monitor their form and see whether I eventually do want to go for them, but the window of opportunity, I will leave it open for myself. And that's the midfield that I have for now. So Saka, Salah, Rodgers, Semenyo, and Palmer. Let's have a look now at the forwards. So up front, completing the starting 11 is Cunha and Jackson, both of whom have really good fixtures. It's Everton away and Southampton away respectively. And I'll speak more about Nicholas Jackson because he is a player that I just transferred in for Alexander Isak, as my second free transfer is confirmed and locked in already. And I guess I'll speak firstly about transferring Alexander Isak out. Now, he's nursing a bit of an injury. Firstly, we don't know exactly when he will return. And also in terms of how much we're paying for Alexander Isak, I feel as if I made a bit of a mistake going for him in game week 12. This could be a bit of hindsight, maybe because Jackson has scored in both games in the same period of time and Isak has blanked in both. But I do feel like at the price point that we paid for Isak, I did not feel as if he's someone that justifies that and will continue to justify that moving forward. And that's why I guess going for Nicholas Jackson now, I kind of correct the mistake that I made in game week 12 by going for Isak, and also in the process free up some money because Isak down to Jackson does free up a little bit of cash from me to eventually fund Rodgers or Semenyo up to a Manchester United player if I so wish to do so. So in terms of Nicholas Jackson, the reason why I've gone for him here, despite him being on 4 yellow cards, is basically I will have a little bit more attacking depth. Some players that I will have to come in for Jackson are players that I'm more happy to come in for him. So for example, Rodgers, Semenyo, as well as Chris Wood on the bench. Now, Chris Wood is a player that very soon will become João Pedro. And when that happens, Rodgers, Semenyo, and João Pedro are all players that I don't mind starting for Nicholas Jackson if he somehow picks up a yellow. Say, for example, in game week 14, he picks up a yellow. Hopefully, he's already scored a goal or 2 by then. He picks up a yellow and misses the game week 15 game. Very simply, I can do Chris Wood to João Pedro and start João Pedro instead. Semenyo and Rodgers could continue to be in my team because both of them still have very good fixtures, at least for the next 2 to 3 game weeks for Rodgers. So Chris Wood to João Pedro is definitely a move that I'm considering moving forward. also because it frees up more money as well so that I can upgrade Rodgers and Semenyo to the Manchester United players that I've been speaking about quite a bit. But I feel like that is where there's an opportunity for me to go different, because maybe some people still don't believe that there's opportunity there. But I do think like Rodgers up to someone like Marcus Rashford is really something I'm considering. So moves like Isak to Jackson, as well as Wood to João Pedro, are going to free up money for me to do Rodgers to Rashford later down the line. So these are kind of tentative plans that I have, but also kind of the reasons why I've made these transfers that I have. So it was Mbeumo out for Saka and Isak out for Jackson. And I do think like with this team for Game Week 14, it puts my team in a position where, at least for the medium term, fixtures look pretty good for most of my players. So I'm happy enough. If I do wish to deal with this Rico Lewis spot, I will, as I've mentioned, sell Aina first, and there are a couple of alternatives I'm looking at. So Levi Colwill is one. In terms of other defensive assets, I think Liverpool, Joe Gomez is someone I'm considering as well. If not, those are future transfers for my team. For Game Week 14, my 2 free transfers are locked in, Saka and Jackson in. Let's now just wrap it up with a captaincy discussion. So we're going to have a look at the Game Week 14 captaincy algorithm, but before we jump into it, I do have to apologize because I have not been as consistent in uploading team selection videos because life has just gotten in the way of late, but I really only speak about the captaincy algorithm during the team selection video. So if you are someone that wants to follow this week in, week out, not to worry, I do post the captaincy algorithm on my Instagram at fpl_consult every single week consistently. So even if I don't put out a video, you will be able to find the captaincy algorithm on my Instagram. There have been a couple of you guys asking for team selection videos because of this section, and you guys enjoy it, and I think recently it's done pretty well as well. So let's jump into this. So for those of you looking at the captaincy algorithm for the first time and you're wondering what are algorithm points even, basically I've developed a model that takes in predicted points of all the FPL players in existence from 3 different sources, and basically what the algorithm does is it gives a weight to the points that we get from each of these different sources, and then overall we come up with a value associated to each player. So as you can see here, Palmer has 7.60 algorithm points. Not surprising that he tops this week because of the Southampton away fixture for him. Haaland has Nottingham Forest at home, and it's honestly a decent enough fixture. As I've mentioned, Manchester City supposedly go on a slightly easier run of fixtures now, and if they do turn in terms of their form, or if they do turn a corner basically, I do think like this could be the fixture for Haaland to get something. So 6.83 algorithm points is believable. And then Salah here 6.45 because he plays against Newcastle away. So for those of you looking at the algorithm and are wondering previously how has it done, the success rate is 10 out of the past 13 game weeks, and in the Game Week 13 algorithm calculations, basically it picked Palmer as well, who got 1 goal and 1 assist against Aston Villa. It also picked out Salah second in the Game Week 13 algorithm, who also picked up 1 goal and 1 assist. So if you again want to check out the algorithm, and somehow if I miss out on uploading team selection videos later down the line, you can head over to my Instagram and drop me a follow, then you will not miss any of the future algorithm calculations. If not, my Game Week 14 captain is quite straightforward. It will be Cole Palmer, and likely Salah as my vice captain as well. If not, how have you guys enjoyed today's video and found some use in it? Let me know what are your own plans for your teams, and you have any questions, drop it in the comments below and I'll try to reply every single one. If not, thank you for watching to this point. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please do drop a like, please do subscribe, and I will catch you very soon, because it is again a Tuesday night deadline. So I will catch you tomorrow on the deadline stream, as always, 3 hours before the deadline. Bye-bye.